Today I want to talk about queries. Of course, queries exist in CFML for forever, and you are familiar with it. This is a simple example of a query tag, nothing special here. So I define the query and I output it. And when I execute that, look like this. So nothing special here. Let us extend that a little bit. In that case, we add a CF query param. So we pass the value we want to filter. In that case, we are query param. This has two benefits. First benefit is that you can inject SQL in that way. So when you, for example, had the value here coming from URL whatever, and somebody could try to pass an SQL statement here, that's not possible because the value you pass in query param is never parsed as an SQL. That's not part of the SQL. That is passed separately to the database. So there's no way to inject SQL in that way. The other thing is that Lucee is able to cache with help of prepared statements that SQL statement, so it don't have to parse that again and again and again. It caches that and can reuse it as long as only the value change. Doesn't matter then for Lucee. So these are these two benefits. So when we are execute that, then simply we have filtered now Susie out. So we only get Susie. That's the change with query param. Okay. Next one. In that case, we do the same, but we don't use query param. We use params as part of the tag. So we can define here a struct that has all our params. So we do that referencing by the key. So we have title here, and then we use this syntax in the SQL statement for the title. Again, that is not then injected directly in the SQL, and the SQL is interpreted as passed separately to the database. So you can inject SQL here. So when you have here, when you put SQL here, it doesn't work. So that's also the same security level you have here. So when I execute that, we again get the same result, nothing special here. What we can do in that case, we only did pass a simple value for the key, but we can also give more information. We can give the type and the value separately in that way. So we pass a struct instead of a simple value. Then that works the same way. Okay, nothing special. Okay, next one. So far we did use a struct to pass the values, but instead you can also use an array. When you have an array, you reference not by key, of course, because there are no keys. You reference by order. When you have multiple values in the array, that's simply the position in the SQL. So first in array is first in the SQL code. In case of an array, you don't reference by the key, of course. You reference with help of a question mark and the order. So when you have the first element at the first position in the array, then replaces the first question mark in the SQL statement. So, but otherwise it's the same. You can do a simple value like here, or you can pass a struct with more information like we did before. So it's exactly the same. So when I execute that, nothing unexpected here. So we have, in both cases, we have again the same result, nothing special here. So that's about the different ways you can use tags in Lucee. So the real difference is just how you use how you pass values into the query. And you can do exactly the same in script. So Lucee supports tags in script, and that's how you do it. That's again one of the examples from the previous template, and here I do exactly the same in script. You can do that by simply remove the CF prefix and then adding here curly brackets, wrap that in an echo function, and you have it. So that's what you have here. But otherwise, you can use it exactly the same with the same features. Script tags we support two different syntax for script tag. The first is the syntax from the CFML advisory board. A long time ago, there was a board that was part of it was Adobe, Blue Dragon, and Rilo, and that board defined this syntax. Rilo then was the only one that really implemented that syntax, and later ACF Adobe implemented a different syntax for script tags, and that's the syntax you see here. It's a little bit, you always have the CF prefix, and it's more looks a little bit more like a function, but it's not a function, but can be a little bit confusing in my opinion. So I personally prefer that syntax, but what you use is up to you. Lucee supports both syntax, the ACF syntax or the advisory board syntax. You can do both. And you see we do the same here. We have the title reference that then comes from the query param in both cases. So when I execute that, you see nothing unexpected here. It's again the same output. Next one, next to the script tag and the regular tag, you can also do queries with help of the function query execute. That is a little bit different. You pass everything you want to do. You pass as arguments inside that function. You have the SQL statement again. I use in that case a reference, and then I have here exactly the same way I can define params. That's exactly the same as we did with tags. And as options, I pass all the other arguments. So like data source, cache it within, or whatever. And when I execute that, I again get the same output. So nothing special here. So you have the function syntax. You can also use components to do a query. There's a component called query that is auto-imported into every template, so you don't have to take care to import it. That's always there. You can use it everywhere. And in that case, you pass the SQL statement as part of the constructor. And again, with same placeholders. And you can do the params in the same way. You simply pass it as with the function set params. You have a function for define the data source, and then you call execute. Execute will not return you the query. It returns a result component, and that component holds more information than not only the query. But when you call then get result, you get the query itself. So when I execute that, you see again the same result. Nothing special there. So far that's all ways you can use query in Lucee. You can do it with tags, with script tags, as a function, or as a component. So they're very useful ways to do it. And we are always in discussion how we can improve the functionality, because it's a very important functionality in Lucee. So we are always discussing how we could improve that functionality. There are a lot of people that are not happy how you can do queries in script. There's always a lot of discussion going on about that, and that's a couple of things we think we could improve. One thing is that people hate to write echo or write output inside the script tag, and they would prefer not to do it, but from the syntax perspective, that's not possible. So you need another way. One idea is that we introduce the dollar function. That means you simply write dollar and then you have your values. That, of course, that then not limited to the query tag. You can use that everywhere. You simply can do dollar and make your output. That's an idea to make the code looks better. It makes not a real difference for writing it, but it looks better. And an addition that will come is that we already have static functions with the query component. So you already can do query new, what is the same as using the function query new. So that already exists. And what will come soon is that you also can do query execute, what will be the same as use the function query execute. So if you prefer to use components in your code and not the global functions, you will be able to do it that way. And completely different things we are discussing about that will not come as part of the core. That will be an extension. That's the query builder. That's something between ORM and doing simple queries. So it's much easier than ORM, but can be a pain in the ass, and but more helping than simply do ASQLs yourself. In that case, you define your SQL statement with help of functions. So you have, like you can see here, you have select from, where, and you do puzzle together your SQL, and then you execute it. The benefit here is that the query builder based on the data source you define will create a different SQL statements in the back, because it knows, okay, that's maybe in a MySQL data source, so it will make SQL syntax in the back, so you don't have to take care on that. You can do a create statement, and then it will work with every database you have, because it will take care to use the right dialect for that. Another benefit with that is that you can use it multiple times. So you see in that example, I do an execute, I get a result, but then I change it. I change the select statement to a different value, and I execute it again, and it will come another result. And then I change the where statement, make it more complicated, and execute it again, and again get another result. So you can use that, change it, and reuse it all the time. That will also be secure from SQL injection, so it will not be possible to inject SQL into it. So that is from house, it's already secure. Of course, you have better ideas how we can improve query in the future, so I would love if you share this information with us in one of our channels. And I hope this video was helpful to you. Have a good one.